All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Pilot Revenue Committee. The time is now, it's December the 9th. The time is now 1:47. I'm convening this meeting to order. My name is Springfield City Councilor Victor Davila, Chairman of the Pilot Revenue Committee. And thanks everybody for joining us. Today, we're being joined in no particular order by CFC Councilor Maria Perez. Good afternoon, ma'am. Thank you for joining us. We also have Councilor Saida Goban. Good afternoon, Councilor.
Good
we
afternoon.
have Councilor Click Bruce. Good afternoon, sir. We also have committee member Karen Lee. We have the assessors Patrick Greenhall, and then the one and only the Steve in presence of the chambers. Good afternoon, Steve. Good. Thank you for being here. And Steve, who's joining you there? I cannot see. I know somebody's next. Who's across you? I can't see who's across you. Let's see.
There, it's Kathy Bono.
Oh, Kathy. Good afternoon, Kathy. How are you? Okay. All right. So why don't we get started? I see Jay Latour is not here. A little surprise. Karen, do you have any update on Jay? I believe you had an update for us.
No, I assumed he would be here, so maybe he's held up. I'm not sure.
Okay, let me give him a quick text. Okay.
I have a note. Yes, he should be logged in just a couple minutes.
Okay, not a problem. Why don't we, while Jay logs in, why don't we start with the agenda today is continued discussion on pilot revenue sources for the city of Springfield. And one of the things that Jay is going to be giving us update shortly has been, I believe, had a meeting with grant writers for the city. He's going to be giving us an update on that. Kathy, is there anything you want to give us a little bit of a taste before Jay jumps in? Kathy, are you able to hear us?
I can. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. So I do know that last week Sequoia and Jay met and went over the grant we talked about. So I think Jay can speak to it more when he gets on, that they're going to work
Okay.
together to put that grant in. But I know that they had a meeting.
Okay, I'm looking forward to hear on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there any way that we can bring you into the view, Kathy?
I'll sit on the other side next to Steve, I guess.
Actually, I think it's there. We go. Okay.
We're joined by Patrick Greenhall too.
Oh, okay. Hi, Patrick.
Hello.
There you go. I can see you guys now. Fine. Thank you, guys. Very well. So, in the meantime, while Jay joined us, Kathy, maybe we can sort of start backwards. But one of the things that I mentioned offline, and we had a brief discussion about was this committee is both pilot and revenue. And we've been spending a significant amount of time and made some good advances in the pilot aspect. There's still tons of work to be done in that front. However, I also want to sort of start a little bit of a conversation on revenue, on the revenue aspect of it as well. And I know you had mentioned a little while ago that you're going to start looking at potential revenue sources. So I would like to see if you can give us a quick update on that, and also if you have any opportunity to think about any what I like to call budget busters, things that the city, I know there's things that city cannot change because either through mandate or because it's politically prudent to do so. But anything that we could start looking now that we may potentially be able to have some cost-effective measures.
So I guess I'll address the revenues. As you know, during the budget hearings last year, I committed to meeting with all the departments on a monthly basis, which I have been doing. And we've been talking to the departments and the department heads about the current revenues and the departments that generate revenue, the fees, fines, et cetera. They bring in any new revenues that they can think of based on the services they provide. So we are working through that with the departments. A lot is applying for grants, et cetera. New revenues are tough. Aside from any, new grants or so. So we have the position of grants manager in our department, and he continuously looks for grants to help offset some of the city costs. As far as budget busters, that's more on the expenditure side, but I mean, only 13% of the city's budget is discretionary. So a lot of it we have no control over. The big budget busters are pensions, school transportation, et cetera. So we are looking at that, and we are going to start the budget conversation sooner than we normally do. But we are looking to see if there's any new revenues, and Sequoia is always looking for new grants or something
Right.
to get.
No, thank you, Kathy. Kathy, I believe you might have told me, are we looking for somebody? There's a position that I think we're trying to fill.
We did try to fill it. We didn't have anyone, so we are gonna try to put it out again in January.
And that position is for what again?
And that position is strictly, well, not strictly, but one of their key functions will be to try to identify any new revenue sources, looking at different cities and towns and see what if they have any sources of revenue that we're not aware of. So hopefully we didn't have anyone qualified. We're gonna try to put it out again in January.
Okay, I see. Thank you, Kathy. So 13% of the budget is only discretionary, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I see you, Karen. Just give me a quick second. Also want to recognize Councilor Tracy Whitfield. Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for joining us. And we're also joined by Resident Juan Latorre. Good afternoon, Mr. Latorre. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Counselor. Thank you.
Thank you. So Kathy, so we're looking for that new position. I guess there was a question regarding the school transportation. I believe last time we approved a 5-year contract. Is that because it supposedly gives us a better a cost margin? Is that the trend that we seem to be having now in the city? I'm just thinking, just caught my attention when you say that. No, I'm not suggesting one way or the other, just for my own information. Is that what we're doing to really save money on the school transportation? I cannot hear you.
It's muted.
It's muted, Kathy.
I don't know why they're,
Yeah, you can't teach me new things,
Steve,
Counselor.
yeah, his new job is pushing him over the edge. They did do it, and they explained it when they received permission from the council. They were hoping it would
Right.
encourage competition, and it would allow businesses, if they had to go out and borrow, it would allow them to spread the borrowing across the 5 years if they had to increase their fleet in order to meet our needs.
Right.
Unfortunately, we didn't, but again, that's more of a budget that we'll
Right.
talk about, whereas
Right.
this is revenue.
Correct. No, I understand, but everything ties to the other.
Yeah,
And
so they're hoping that they could encourage more competition. Unfortunately, we still had only the one vendor.
Correct. Okay. Karen, do you have a question?
I just want to remind you, Counselor, or that we had put together as a committee, we had come up with a list of some suggestions for revenue in that I think maybe we should pass on to Kathy to get her thoughts on it, if it's something that is doable. So I could send her that list later today, Kathy.
So it was
Yeah.
for different,
Right, there's a list of different potential revenue sources that, it's kind of like a flash list, but,
Sure, I'd be glad to have, you can send it to me.
yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
so
No,
to-
anything that, anything that can, any idea is good. So if you could share that with all of us, Kathy, that would be fantastic. Excuse me, Karen, that would be fantastic.
Okay,
Thank you, Karen. Any other questions from the councilors? Councilors, have any questions so far? No? Okay. Kathy, anything else you want to chime in? Anything?
No.
Nope,
just-
all right. Got you. Thank you, Kathy.
Mhm.
Jay, you want to give me a quick update?
Yeah, thank you, Counselor. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Okay, right, great. So, I just want to see if he's on. Okay, while he's not on, since the last time we met, I had the pleasure of meeting with Sequoia Malone. It was really great to talk to about the Department of Local Services, community, forgive me on the acronym, but the community grant to establish best practices for municipalities. The grant money is usually available sometime in August, and it gets expended very quickly because it's first come, first serve. So the idea is if we wanted to identify any outside partners that we wanted to work on in any of our efforts as it relates to pilot, this would be an opportunity to seek state funding to support those efforts. So Sequoia and I met last Friday. He was familiar with the grant and he was commented on the fact that by the time he had looked at it, I guess it was either September of 24 or 23, he noted how quickly the money had been exhausted at the state level. You can apply for up to 2 best practices. And if you receive money in one fiscal year, you can't receive money in the next fiscal year. So the hope is that for 2026 fiscal year, we might be a prime candidate for this. So Sequoia and I both had a couple of action items for that meeting. I reached back out to the Department of Local Services because I had a couple of additional questions that he raised that I have some information on. I'm going to check my email in just a second. And at the same time, he's going to reach out to the city of Holyoke because they had identified some funding sources to work on their pilot strategy. And he was just generally curious, how the city of Holyoke is funding it. So, Kathy, he may reach out to you to try and see if we can establish a connection between the two cities. And I'm just going to really quickly check my email and hopefully it'll load.
Sure, go ahead.
If it doesn't, I apologize, everyone. But we just basically had 2 additional questions, which was, presumably if you're going to apply for grant funding, you need to have a clear statement of work on what what the money is going to be used for and who potentially it's going to go to if it's an outside agency. So I sought some clarity on that. And the other question I wanted to confirm was basically, since you can apply for 2 best practices a year, even though we're talking about finance and pilots, there could be something else the city might want to apply for another
Mhm.
department. So I was just trying to confirm, if it's first come, first serve, and we apply for 2 different strategies or best practices, is there a risk that someone at the state will pick one and not the other? Or is there a good chance we'll get both if we get it in early enough? And the last thing I basically asked was, could we get a template of what the application looked like for this past year so that I could work with Sequoia to try and prep our submission so that when the application becomes available and is made available to the mayor, that Sequoia could very quickly put together the application and if the mayor was willing to sign off on the request for funding, that he could do so in a timely fashion, because it must go really quick. I did get a message back from DLS just at 107. So they did send me a copy of the application, so I'll be able to share that with Sequoia. And they did say, and this is their quote, there's always a risk that a best practice can be denied, but it's rare for that to happen. Also, a reminder that the application has to be approved by the mayor. So I'll kind of defer to others on the best process, but it might be one of those things where if we could kind of prep an application and get the mayor's initial blessing of it early on, that might help us when the time comes that the application is made available, just because we'll want to try to submit it as early as possible. So that's pretty much what I have on that. I'm looking forward to working with him and hopefully helping the city get some grant money to work with any outside groups the committee decides we want to work with.
Thank you, Jay, for that update. So Jay, some quick question. Is there a cap to the amount of money that we could apply?
The only thing I have right now is that they said that typical grant sizes that are approved are in the range of $25,000 to $50,000. So I don't know if that's like total per city or if that's total per best practice per city, and we can apply for up to 2. But I can see clarification on that.
Yeah,
But that's kind of the working number I think that we should think about right now.
okay. Would you mind getting clarification on that? I think it'll
Sure.
hopefully it
Yep.
will be per practice so that we can get more money. Karen,
Right.
go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Jay is saying. In case anyone's just logging in and they're not sure exactly what these grants are for. One of them hopefully will be for the Loan Institute, which is like a think tank on hospitals. And they went through a couple thousand different hospitals' data and their financial records and their community benefits, et cetera. And so what we're hoping is with this grant, part of it could be used to assess our local hospitals with a plan for community benefits and the overall impact in the area. And then possibly the second grant for the colleges and our overall pilot program. So, so Jay, did we answer the question? Would those be 2 grants or would that be 1 grant in total? For 2 different.
Karen, since I just got the email and I think there might be attachments and some other written information, I'll probably have to go back to them. But I don't want to answer that right now, but I will try to get that answered.
All right, very good. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you. And now, Jay, I believe the earliest we could apply is August 1st. That's the earliest.
That's what I think. So as I understood it, it's a line item like any other state program. So part of the application process also depends on when the state legislature, passes the budget and the governor signs it. So, August 1st, was explained to me as kind of a rough date to start to be on the lookout for
Right.
the application. But I don't
Gotcha.
think it's like a hard and fixed date, Counselor.
Gotcha. So basically the idea is get the application ready, submit, ready to go, so that when it's available within the first 5 minutes, submit the application.
Yep, that's the idea.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jay. Anybody else has any update, any questions? No? Okay. So, Karen, you did bring up the Collins Center and the Loan Center Institute. I think it might be a good idea to bring them in maybe early next year, just to get a feel for them. What do you think?
I think that that's a great idea that, I think we talked about it earlier, that we would have a couple different vendors come in and talk to the committee on what they could do to help facilitate pilot programs in Springfield.
Okay.
And there's different expertise in these vendors, so hopefully one grant could be used for multiple vendors.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, thank you so much. So I'm gonna schedule maybe one for January, one for February, each institute. Um,
And also
Karen,
Senator Gomez to give us an update on the bill, if it's been submitted or he sponsored it again this year. The bill to, so that we wouldn't have to go through all this. It would be a
right,
pilot program that municipalities could put into place up to 25% of the assessed value. So if that law ever passes, then we'd have less work to do.
okay,
So maybe an update from the senator would be good as well.
okay. I would schedule those three sometime in January, February, probably two different meetings, because I think it will be too much information for one meeting to absorb. Excellent. And so, okay, now, Patrick, quick question for you, my good sir, Patrick Greenhall. Can you give us a quick update? I know we talked about a little while back about although I don't think there has been any pilot that's about to expire. Have we been able to develop anything in terms of sort of what I call closing the loophole with the ones that expire, the mechanism that we can say, this is coming up, hey, would you like to resign?
So I haven't reviewed them lately, but my recollection was there's really only one that is going to expire, and I think that's with Bay State. So no, that hasn't been, I haven't really examined that or figured out a mechanism at the moment. I think it's really, if I could steer the direction towards the committee's sort of policy as a whole, as opposed to sort of renegotiating, if we even can, this one pilot agreement. I think it would be better to have a whole system in place for them and everyone else. So no, short answer is no. Much longer answer is I think that's really part of this committee's role. And I think we've all seen the news about Bay State Health and their financial situation lately. So I think it would be better served coming from this committee.
Right, right. And I hear what you're saying, and it makes a little sense, because we all know, let's be realistic, they're all gonna fight poverty. But I'm not, we can, Karen?
Yeah, the other, that's a great line of thinking. When you and I reviewed the current pilot programs, most of them were for either the mental health or the association properties. And they all had the same terms pretty much. And those do not have an expiration date. So you're right, it's just Bay State that expires in June. But I'm thinking that that's a little bit of a separate situation. That we could focus on some other potential pilot programs using the same template as what was used with the association properties and the mental health, which means that they're receiving federal funding, and those are the only pilot agreements we have are those receiving federal funding outside of Bay State and STCC, which was for their parking lot, which was a separate agreement. So I think what I'm suggesting that we talked about earlier was to have the law department take a look at the current pilot agreements and if we could apply them to other agencies in the city that have housing funding from either HUD or federal or state. Does that make sense? Because the pilot agreements seem to only be for those tax exempt agencies that are receiving federal funding. And if that's the case, then there's Wayfinders, there's the Springfield Housing Authority and several others who receive Section 8 or HUD funding that perhaps we could write a similar agreement as the earlier ones that we have on file. So anyway, that's kind of
So
the,
are you suggesting that we try to engage in agreement ASAP with those entities, or should we continue to develop policy and then engage?
yes, but I think first that the law department should do some research onto why these agreements were made in the first place. So that would be, I would think, the solicitor, Bonacani, to
Yeah,
have a conversation with him and have him look at these agreements and see what can be used as a template, or if there was a reason why just these particular organizations were tapped for a pilot agreement when we have so many more that also receive federal funding. So I could give him a call, or you could give him a call, and we can send him the information to have him, do a review or opinion on.
I believe I'm gonna see him tonight at the city council meeting, so I'll put a bug on his ear.
Okay, very good. And just let me know,
So,
I'll send him the contracts that we do have, the pilot agreements, as well as the assessment behind those.
so Karen, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna tell him you're gonna be emailing him shortly, okay?
What's that?
I'm gonna tell him that you're gonna be emailing him or making that contact as well. It seems like we're gonna have a very busy beginning of the year in the pilot revenue committee, which is good. I'm excited. So, any questions from any of the councilors up to this point? No questions. Nobody. Councilor Whitfield.
Not a question, but I just wanted to say that the pilot committee has been doing a great job with the research and the suggestions. And I also wanted to say to Karen, I agree, because like home city development, I don't know if First Resources got a nonprofit arm, but they get tax incentives. There's a bunch of organizations that we fund that there's no pilot agreement, so I definitely agree with that. We could probably bring in more revenue that way, and I look forward to seeing what the consultants did in other communities for their pilot agreements. But great job on looking up the grants. There's a lot of state funding we could probably get to help us out, but a lot of it doesn't go to property tax and stuff like that. So I just wanted to say thank you for the work that you've done on this committee.
So, I'd like to recognize, I believe, Councilor Allen. I believe you just joined us a few minutes ago. Okay, Councilor Allen, is that you, sir? I believe that's Timmy Allen. Very well, just a quick time check now. It's now 2:17. Do we have, good afternoon, Councilor Allen. I'm sorry, did you have any questions or just Councilor Allen? You're muted, but I think you said you all set. You all set? Okay, he's all set. Okay. He's giving me the thumbs up. Okay. Very well. So I will be contacting the law. Well, I will be reaching out to both you, Jay, and Karen to arrange contacting the Jay and the Collins Center. I will contact Senator Gomez, and I will speak to the solicitor tonight when I see him. Any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns? This is going to be another short meeting. I think the most important thing right now is to get set up for this grant and applying for this grant, and finding out what capacity the other think tanks and institutes can help us shape this massive undertaking. Any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, ideas? I even take frustrations if anyone has frustrations.
Counselor, I just have one thing, and maybe
Okay.
I would direct it to Kathy. So I just, if anyone has any suggestions on any other entities we might want to, I guess for lack of better words, interview, to see how they might be a partner to us. Um, maybe you have conversations of other individuals in government and other parts of the state. I think that would be helpful as well. I think we have two really great entities, and I think we're going to learn a lot from them, but it doesn't just have to be two. This is going to be an iterative process. So if we find out about other, you know, um, individuals or organizations that are looking at this, we should try to meet with them too over the course of the year, because I think that'll help us get this as right as possible. I'm gonna take some homework back to try and see what I can find out, as far as who Boston has worked with, because they have a whole website. I just don't know if it really speaks to, who they're outs, if they used outside resources to help them put it together, who they worked with, but that's my only thought. And so what I was going to say to, Kathy, since you probably have contacts across the state, your counterparts, if there's anyone else out there that we could talk to, that might be useful in the coming months.
Very well. Councilor
Thanks.
Goulart?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I echo what, Council Whitfield said about the committee doing this kind of work. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation, in hopefully early spring or before that. I know Kathy said that, we might be able to have the budget conversations, earlier this year, and I'm looking forward to that. And using the information that we gather here, to have those conversations and find a way to continue to try to help the taxpayers in our city. I know that we talked about the transportation for the schools. I think that's something that we have to look at, because I see the school buses are like half empty half the time. So, and then a lot of parents are bringing their kids to school by car and causing congestion in front of the schools. Um, I don't know where we're going to have that conversation. I know it's not here. But that's something that I think we really need to look at, and see if we can find a solution to that. But thank you. Thank you, Counselor, Davila.
You're welcome, Councilor Goulart. Very well. All right, so if nobody has anything they want to add, any response, reply, rebuttals? Nothing? Christmas recipes? Nothing? Okay. Very well, my friends. So with that being said, it is now 2:21. This is the last meeting of the Pilot Revenue Committee. I would like to say to all of you, thank you. Thank you for sticking out the first year. I would like to remind people that this is a long, slow process. I personally don't believe in rushing. I want to do this slowly, right the first time, so that we can move on to other things. There's a lot of work to do. The city of Springfield is a poor city, unfortunately. It's a great city. It's a great place to live, work, and to raise a family. And we need to prepare for the future. Right now, we are doing financially stable, but as leaders, we have an obligation to prepare for the future. So I thank all of you for doing this. From the bottom of my heart, I really say, not only as a counselor, but as a resident, thank you, because I know this work is tedious. This work is taxing, and so we will get to the promised land on this. So, if that being said, thank you, everybody, and I will see you the next meeting. I do plan to keep them as scheduled, which is the second Monday of the month. And so that will be the plan, but I will send out an email to confirm in, that's for sure. That's gonna be, I gotta look at the calendar because of the holidays in between. So I will send out at least for the first 6 months or so, maybe 4 months, the schedule. Karen?
Yeah, I just have one question. I will be sending Kathy the list of potential revenue suggestions that we kind of worked with over the last several months. And I was going to copy you and Jay and Tracy and Brian as committee members.
Sure.
Or anyone else?
You could, if you could, CC Councilor Allen, Govan, Pettis, and Bruce, and Lindsay, everybody in the meeting today. Kathy, myself, that's gonna be a
I
quick
need
list.
to write all this down then. Okay.
So let me just, that would be Kathy Bono, myself, Councilor Whitfield, Councilor Govan, Jay, Councilor Allen, Councilor Paris, Lindsay Hackett, and Councilor Click Bruce.
All right, I think I have you all. Very
Very
good.
well, very well then. Thank you, everybody, and God bless you all. See you next year.